call this my famous war room. And I surround myself with some of the aircraft that I flew with in World War II, and I got some that my son Dick maintains today. He works for ConAgra. And along with that, I have some other things I hope to show you here now in just a little bit. So we'll start from here. Okay, here's the B-29 aircraft. I flew bombing missions over Japan during World War II, and they completed 35 bombing missions. And this is the airplane that I spent a good deal of time, did a lot of maintenance work on it. And over the years, I gained a lot of respect for it. So the next thing I want to show you is some of the fellows that I flew with. Okay. All right, now this is a picture of the first combat crew that I flew with. Here's the pilot, there's the co-pilot, and flight engineer, navigation, bombardier, and all the guys down that you see down here, except for him, he's a radar operator. The rest of us were all gunners down here. That's me right there. Not many people recognize that. We try to have reunions now every year until we get down to the last man. And then whenever that happens, well, then this thing will phase out into history. I flew, we did training in Kansas, and then we flew out of Indian China. That's the group I flew with then. And later on, our crew was broken up. And then I joined this crew over here. Are you still functioning, Tom?
Mm-hmm.
Now this is Captain Walker, here's the pilot, and the co-pilot, Eddie Walker, and tail gunner Duffy, and Densman, the radio operator, flight engineer, and so on. This is me right here. And from the time over here until here, I weighed about 195 pounds here. And at this point, I weighed about 170. So we flew out of the Tinian Island in Marianas. That's where we bombed Japan from there. Okay, that's pretty much there. And I got one other thing I wanted to show you. This here is Bob Carey. He was governor of Nebraska at the time that this picture was taken. And Thelma and I had been over to China and Japan, and we were given a special assignment here for the economic department, Nebraska Department of Economic Development. And in recognition, they gave us a dinner and all those nice things, and Bob Carey was there, and we had our picture taken with him. But that pretty much oh yeah, right below here, if you can get that, Tom, these are Chinese people over here in China. They're building a runway for us, the runway that we use in flying our missions over to Japan. This is all human power, and the only thing you see in this group here is there's a big concrete roller. I'll estimate 6 feet in diameter and probably 10 feet long, just a concrete cylinder. There was no equipment, no tractors, nothing. All these people, they were pulling us by hand. They're pulling that roller, making our runways. And here you can see they're cracking up rocks and so on. And they filled in a depression here that were used for the runways. And kind of gives an example of some of the equipment, the carrying equipment. And off here you can't see it too well, but there's a couple of hammers back in there that they used to break these stones up. Here's a C-46 transport that was used to haul gasoline over the Himalayan mountain from India over into China. And that's where we got our gasoline to fly our missions over to Japan. That pretty much tells that story. And over here, here's a pretty nice shot of the B-29 aircraft right here. And over here to the right, there's another, this is a memento, my brother's, we called him Slide, that was his nickname. was Amo, and he was killed in the Battle of Leyte in World War II again on Leyte Island in the Philippine Island group. And this is a memento of the flag that flew over the capital of the United States. And this is recognition. I have the flag. I have it that I fly it whenever there's some kind of a special memento in the United States. I fly it out in my front yard. Over here, you can see here's a picture of B-29 aircraft. I got this in Seattle. And you see all these insignias around here, and every one of them, every one of the wings are your group. This here, see this red right here, that was our first out of Indian China. That's how we made our form. We formed up in a formation. Sometimes our bombing trips, we'd find these people and form up, and in the formation we'd go over to target and we'd drop our bombs. Just kind of gives a skeleton view of how the airplane itself is made up. And over here, there's a British Harrier right here. You can see it's got the engines right here, and then they got these ducts here that force the air down to give the airplane lift so it can fly up, and then when it changes these ducts around, it simply goes on like just another fighter aircraft. And over here, we come around, it's a Lear jet. Again, Dick maintains these for ConAgra. Got one here, and then further over to the left. We got them. Here's a world map I like to keep around and try to give me an idea kind of where I've been in this world. When I first went overseas, I left out of here to China, and we flew over here across the North Atlantic down to Africa and so on until we finally got over to India. And later on, of course, I moved over here to the Marianas group, and we struck Japan from there. And when I completed my tour of duty there, then I simply came back to the United States, and that was the first time I circled the globe. And again, over here to the left is another Lear jet. And then down in here is the B-29 aircraft. And here's kind of a picture of Enola Gay. Enola Gay was world famous. It's the one that dropped the first atomic bomb on Hiroshima. Now, I might mention that this aircraft, because of dropping that atomic bomb, gained a whole lot of publicity. And because of the destruction, which is horrendous. So just one simple bomb did so much horrendous damage, and they talked about the people that died as a result of this. And then Nagasaki, with their second atomic bomb, was dropped at Nagasaki. And so the end result of all this is what I want to bring out is that on March the 13th, 1945, there was a B-29 group aircraft struck Tokyo, Japan in a fire bombing raid. There was more people died, Japanese people died as a result of that mission, and these two atomic bomb droppings combined. So I just wanted to bring that part of it out. Not that we were mean and nasty. I should say also that in some of these bombing missions, particularly towards the end of the hostilities, towards the end of the war, that we sent airplanes over ahead of time, dropping leaflets by the millions, dropping them over the major cities in Japan and telling these people, now, to value your life, we value your life too. We would advise you to leave town because tomorrow night these airplanes are going to come over here and are going to destroy your city. If you don't get out, you're going to lose your life as a result of it. So that pretty much concludes what I want to talk to you about. I do have a little memento here from China. Cal and I have been over to China, in the last 10 years. We've been over there twice to visit that place, and I got to They're hard bargainers, you know, they really tough, they hang tough. And I went and bought one of these caps from a street merchant, and I paid 75 cents for it. And a little later on, I discovered that some other guys on the troop, they bought these for 65 cents. Well, that kind of upset me. So I went back and I started dealing with those guys again. They were right out there on the street selling this stuff. And so I dealt around, and I finally, by golly, I got one for 65 cents. So I got two of them now. But China, why China? Well, a lot of people ask me why I go back to China. Well, for one reason, I learned to like the Chinese people. I find they're gentle, and they're very warm people. They're very appreciative of some of the things that we did for them. And I just like to go back there. So that pretty much concludes what I got to say today. Okay, thank you, Tom.